There's this guy we all know. He's kind of like Santa Claus, except better. You know how Santa Claus can be in every home at the same time on Christmas Eve? You know, with that sleigh and the reindeer and dropping presents off. You know how magical Santa Claus is to make that happen? And just every house all across the country, all at the same time, Christmas Eve, dropping presents down chimneys. Well, this guy's even better than that, because this guy, he can be all over the country at the same time, and he can be both genders. He can be male and female at the same time. He can be all races, all ethnic backgrounds, all religions. He can be all age groups. Then this guy is everywhere all the time. He's at the water cooler. He's your brother-in-law. He's your next-door neighbor. This is the guy. And by the way, the face is always the same. The face is part of the... This is part of the MO of this guy or this gal. If you want to picture this guy as a gal, just put some lipstick, earrings, and hair extensions on him. This guy is the guy that when you say, did you know that Ron Paul is leading the polls in Iowa and could even win in New Hampshire or come in a very close second? When you say those things, this is the guy that looks at you and he says, I wouldn't vote for Ron Paul because Ron Paul wants to give the nuclear weapon to the Iranian people. I would vote for Ron Paul, except I heard him say that he wants to give the nuclear weapon to the terrorists and things like that. So I cannot vote for the Ron Paul. And I know that many of you have tried to have conversations with this guy. This guy will normally take a very strong stance as either, quote, a Republican or, quote, a Democrat. You know, if he or she is a Republican, you know, it drives you nuts that they literally read from a script given to them by Sean Hannity or Rush Limbaugh or Bill O'Reilly. It drives you nuts. You know, if it's a liberal, you know, it's like you're listening to, you know, Chris Matthews, Rachel Maddow, or, you know, Keith Olbermann. And so it drives you nuts. And if this is your brother-in-law and if your neighbor or whatever, you see this person all the time, and you want to pull your hair out every time you start talking to him. So I'm going to give you some advice on what to do for the next year. Over the next year, you can either spend your time with this guy trying to convince him to vote for Ron Paul, or you can spend your time with other people who aren't this guy. And they're out there. There are people who will listen to reason. There are people who will talk with you, and there are people who do want to know the truth and who do want to make an informed decision. And there's a way to find out. When you talk with somebody, and I'm very serious about this, if you talk with someone about Ron Paul, and you say, listen, you know, Ron Paul's leading the polls, or Ron Paul this, or Ron, whatever, and they start off with I would vote for the Ron Paul, except he wanted to give the weapon to the terrorist Iranian people. When you hear them do this, you need to ask a simple question. And I want you to repeat after me. You ready? Do you want to know the truth about Ron Paul? Just ask that. Don't make a point. Don't argue with them about Iran or, you know, whether or not, you know, Ron Paul is this or that. Just ask them a question. Do you want to know the truth about Ron Paul? Now, if they come back and they say, I know the truth about Ron Paul, what? That's fine. Repeat the question. I understand that you believe you know the truth about Ron Paul. Would you like to know the truth about Ron Paul? Now, the answer, surprisingly to you, you may be surprised. If you ask that question, there are people that want to know the truth. And you can begin to discuss with them what you know. It doesn't mean they'll vote for Ron Paul. It doesn't mean Ron Paul will win. But it means you can stop having conversations with this guy.